black sweater.
I almost legitimately fell fully backward, like a farce movie.
All right, we are live over on YouTube, so let's get this started in 3, 2. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are coming to you live from a couple of places on the internet. We're live over on Crowdcast. We're live over on YouTube. We're coming to you later a bunch of places as well. Spotify, Stitcher, your grandma's house, other places like that.
Yeah, we've tuned into your grandma's transistor radio, and we are broadcasting like a bunch of ghosts out of her.
And her metal plate, the metal plate in her head. But wherever you're tuning in, yeah! Why does that keep happening every week? I honestly don't know. You know what we need? Resolution. We need a producer. We're going to make it happen this year.
Wow. Too much behind the curtain, Alex.
Oh, are you saying that just because Pete is frozen and I messed up the sound cue at the top of the show?
Let's be honest. I'm producing this shit. Ready? And we are go for talking about the drink of the week.
Well, the drink of the week is a good old-fashioned. As frequent listeners / viewers might know, Brett Macris, our CBC chef, has been curating drinks every single week for the show. This week, he curated Mitch Gerads, famous famous artist's unique old-fashioned. Did you end up going with the exact recipe that Mitch recommends?
Mine's a little lighter.
What is
I substituted. I made the drink. I just substituted tequila for the bourbon, and then triple sec for the simple syrup, and lime juice for the bitters.
Ooh. Oh wow, that's a really interesting take on an old fashioned.
It's old fashioned. Well, here's the thing. My wife and I are doing a margarita night later on, and I wanted to make sure to preserve that, so I made myself a margarita to kick it off.
Very nice.
You know, and Mitch, cool. I'll catch up with you maybe tomorrow with that drink, or tomorrow morning.
I did actually make an old fashioned. I didn't have a lemon peel at home. That's part of the recipe. But hey, I always love a good old fashioned.
Substitute tequila.
Oh, tequila and all of the recipes for a margarita. There you go. Yeah. Now, another thing that frequent listeners of the show might know is we have been asking you folks if you can drop recommendations of books you would like us to review, older books preferably, or things we missed, or things we're revisiting. Older books like the Bible, or the New Testament, or the Gideon's Bible, or literally
thumbs down. The pictures
books that maybe we haven't revisited in a while or haven't checked out or at all. We've been getting some great suggestions from you guys, again, in the iTunes comments. This week on our Stack podcast, we're going to be reviewing one of those, which is Spider-Man the Other, a book that, frankly, I had completely forgotten about, so I'm excited to chat with you guys about it on the Stack podcast. But we have a new request to read out here. This is from Kelso Nell on iTunes. Really enjoy all the shows, podcasts these guys put out week to week. Very fun, funny, and always entertaining. IMO. Please review Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 if you can. I'm almost done, and I'd love to hear your thoughts too. You got it, Kelso Nell. We will review it not on this week's Stack podcast, but next week's Stack podcast.
Next week we will do it, and I can guarantee that one of us will like exactly half of that book.
Yep.
And that's Pete, and that's just the turtley part.
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the book. Maybe the Power Rangers are also turtles in this continuity.
Whoa.
That's true. And let's be honest. Aren't they basically the same thing?
Oh, come on,
different, man. It's just slightly different
How
costumes.
dare you?
Yellow Ranger does machines, right? I believe.
Oh, what is that?
Well, anyway, if you got a request, drop it in the iTunes comments. We would love to check them out. It's been very fun revisiting books that we wouldn't necessarily be reviewing. And we are going to bring in our first guest into the stream. He is the creator of the new Kickstarter, Deadbeats Miscreants. His name is Rich Wojcicki. And it is very cool, very fun project that I'm very excited to chat about. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich, hello.
Hey.
Rich.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great, everybody. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting about the Kickstarter. Now, you are in not exactly the final days. You have a little more than a week at this point as we're going. But how's the just as before we even get into the book, what's the experience of the Kickstarter been like for you so far?
It's interesting. It's I did a Kickstarter once before years ago for a web series with a couple of friends of mine. We had a small production company, and it was a lot easier with 4 or 5 people than it is with one. I'll say that definitely.
That is
yeah.
true.
It's just been it's been intense, and I've kind of like I built up to it for months, and even just doing it, it's like every day there's something new. It's just like, oh, I forgot this, or I could reach out to this, or like, every path leads to an entirely new one. And part of me kicks myself for being like, oh, why didn't I think of that before? But of course, you just figure it out. It's like
those are the kicks in Kickstarter. It's kicking yourself.
Yeah.
Well, it's also it's a learning experience, right? Like, obviously, it's a harrowing learning experience because you're watching that money tick by, and either you're going to beat it or not. But at the same time, like, you get stuff you can take away from it, and then you can apply potentially to further experiences or to the experience that you're doing right now, like you're saying.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, most of these things I never go to prep for. Like, I never would have thought of doing, or I just completely wouldn't have thought of at all. And
well, not to give away the farm, but for anybody who might be considering doing a Kickstarter, what's one of the things that you never would have thought of?
Well, I mean, even contacting you guys was something that for some reason I didn't think of. Like, I went to a comic review sites and I was like, oh, that's the way to do it, right? And it's like, no, there's a whole world of podcasting. I listen to podcasts constantly. Of course, that's an option to do. And like, even when you guys reached me back, I was just like, oh, that's crazy. Because I've just been listening to y'all for so long that it just like, it's like, it just didn't think of it at all. It was like, no, it's beyond me. Like, that's for real comic creators and all that stuff. And me just kind of pigeonholing myself in this independent market.
We have room. We're sick of each other. We're ready for new, fresh voices in here.
Yeah.
So please bring us some opinions.
Well, part of the reason we wanted to have you on, though, and thank you for the kind words, is it's a very fun project, and it's clearly a labor of love for you. How long has this idea been batting around in your head at this point?
I mean, honestly, like over 10 years. It's been something that I've just jotted notes. Like, it started as just character studies where I was just like, hey, can I make like 10 people to occupy a book? And it after a while, it's like, yeah, there's a few, like, not all of them are winners, but there's definitely a couple of characters that I gelled with or that seemed to really grow on me.
Well, lay out the premise before we get too much further, just so everyone can check out these characters and know where they are.
Yeah, sure. It's about the main character's name is Kelly, so I'm kind of giving him like a boy named Sue vibe from the get-go.
Right.
He's got a definite chip on his shoulder and isn't where he wants to be, which is basically just working at a comic shop with like a bunch of his friends. And he's just like really kind of hit a wall in life. He's really stunted himself. And then he, through these evil characters that kind of just like come in, these real like pieces of shit, it like just jumpstart his excitement about this item, which is like the main MacGuffin of the book. It's almost like it's a magical pen that's almost like a Green Lantern ring, or what I always compare it to is it's the giant pencil from Duck Amuck, the old Looney Tunes cartoons, where you can just like create whatever out of thin air. And then, except to like, unlike a Green Lantern ring, you're stuck with everything. Like, you make something, it's there, it's permanent. It's a feature. So, it's like how this kind of like reinvigorates him to kind of like take control of his life and to do something with himself. But also, like, it leads him down this entire adventure that he was in no way prepared for or was not expecting to ever happen.
And so the Kickstarter, if I was reading it right, is 6 issues plus some ancillary material. At this point, what have you created going into it? You have a couple of strips, right? Sort of setting up the premise.
Yeah, I just to see if like once I did all my character designs and saw that was something and started building the world to it, I did these test sheets that I just call the Lucy's now because they were just one page. Like I saw them as large Sunday comics.
Nice.
Where it was just like, all right, can I personally make a comic? Can I make it interesting? Can I like have like interesting panel choices or really put my own imprint on it? And I did that for about a year. I had about 16 pages at the end. And I was like, you know what? Like I had written 2 full scripts. And then I was talking to my friend Demetrius, who runs Anyone Comics. He was just like, you're the weirdest artist I know. Every artist I know draws everything first and then just makes shit up as they go. You're the first guy I know who has like because I wanted to do all 6 scripts at once and then start the book. He's like, just fucking do it, man. Like, just why are you torturing yourself? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just jumped into it. Like I mean, even the script I'm just finishing up, which is right now it's with my letterer, issue 2. I'm still working on the last minute inks, and the book itself is constantly evolving, but like next book is the one I have no script for right now. I have a million notes. They're all organized to their specific folders per issue, but it's exciting, but it's also like I've spent now 2 years drawing this book like nonstop.
Wow.
So I have much better feel for it. Like the style of it is evolved. The characters are more solid. This is all I want to do, really.
It's great though. I think it shows in the work. It's like the art's super refined. It feels like the characters are like fully realized. The pen feels like maybe a metaphor for you getting that book done.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of crazy weird shit that happens in this book, but it is 100% based on life.
And I love too, to get back to the Kickstarter of it all, it sounds like you're getting past one of the big things that people do incorrectly about Kickstarter, which is you already have a bunch of stuff in the can. Like a lot of people are like, since Kickstarter is all or nothing in terms of the money, they're like, well, I'll wait to do it until I get the money. But the fact that you're going to
it might work out though. My Kickstarter for the moon base I want to build is like doing pretty well so far.
You keep asking me for money, and I'm bone dry at this point, Justin.
There's a lot of great incentives, like living in the moon base. Once I figure it out.
I know. I keep pledging higher and higher levels, but it's just me at this point. You have one supporter.
I only want one backer. My friend Alex.
Oh, that's very nice. I can't wait to live on the moon with you, like Gene and Scott and Wolverine.
Yep, Pete's our Wolverine. If you could just get on board.
Pete, pledge the Kickstarter. You can do it. Anyway, back to Rich's Kickstarter, though.
Yes.
Like I'm saying, though, I think it's great that you're getting ahead because that really provides proof of concept for people of like, yeah, I'm going to pledge this thing and I'm not going to never see anything. You actually have stuff done. So that's super smart. And that's great to hear.
Oh, thanks. Like, yeah, I'm such a I'm just a workhorse when it comes to this. Like, if I start something, I will just like. I mean, you can ask my wife. Every night, it's just me sitting next to her watching TV, but I'm just drunk.
Well, we got some great news. Your wife is here on the street. Let's bring her in.
Oh, she misses you. She says, "Put down the pen."
Please stop with the Kickstarter.
Yeah. My dog
watch this show with me.
Kicking the shit. Yeah. There's only so much Australian Survivor I can watch before I just need to tune out mentally.
Whoa, what? She's in deep
specific.
on Aussie Survivor? That's like she's clearly addicted to mainline Survivor and is just trying to get another fix.
Oh yeah, no, it's I mean, I know that the last season just ended, but even still, it's just like, when's the next one? When's the next one? How much of this do we have to get to until the next season is back up?
Wow. So curious. Are they more extreme down there? Probably.
Kind of, yeah. Like the physical activities are crazy, and just hearing everybody talk like all at once, it makes me spill out the worst Australian accent that I can fucking imagine. Yeah, like I turn into and I know he's from New Zealand, but I turn into what's his name, Rhys Darby from Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah,
like, it's just so like, oh, we're present here. Hello, Rhys. Like, not how anyone sounds on the show.
Brit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
To get back to the book for 1 second at this point. So again, sorry guys. So again, you got by right now, depending on when people listen to the podcast, eventually it'll be less than this, but you have about 9 days left. People can pledge it. If they pledge the Kickstarter, what do they get? Do they get the full book at this point? All 6 issues plus the ancillary stuff?
Oh yeah. I've got it set up so like my reward timeline is basically based on when I expect the 6th book to come out. Like if I hit the numbers I'm looking for, it's essentially that that buys me the time to sit down and really just pump this thing out. So, through some tiers you get digital copies, which are just like right now I have a kind of pay what you want thing. I'm a big fan of Panel Syndicate, so I'm hoping that just gets it out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also the individual issues, collected volume. I have some push goals. We're hoping to get hardcovers, but I check out the pricing and everything. We're sticking with the paperbacks right now. We'll see how that goes. But this is to all for the first story arc. Like you'll get like a complete story as soon as it's done, and opening up the doors for the next chapter.
Well, it sounds hilarious. Love the character design. I really hope you meet your goals because I definitely want to see this collected. It looks really awesome.
Pledge his Kickstarter. Support Australian Survivor.
That's not what it is, but support this Kickstarter anyway. Rich, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with everything. Fingers crossed. We're hoping it comes through.
You got it, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Take care, man.
Great to have you, man.
I'll be continuing to watch the rest of the show.
Nice.
Yeah. Once again, the project is called Deadbeats and Miscreants. It's from Rich Wojcicki, and it's up on Kickstarter right now, unless you're listening to this 10 days from now, in which case it's a successful Kickstarter.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yes, we'll see what happens.
Pete, really, you ducked out when we were talking earlier. Your old-fashioned looks a little weird to me. Is the color right on that?
I'm sorry. Old fashioned? What are you talking about?
The drink you're
is that an old-fashioned Mountain Dew and vodka?
No,
that's a new fashion.
A new fashion. It's a it's vodka with a little soda water and just a splash of lemon lime Gatorade. You know what I mean? Just a little flavor.
Just making it worse every week. Pickle juice. Kevin in the comments says, is that pickle juice? Because just so you know, that's the color for those only listening. It's the color of pickle juice, or real Tom Hanks' character from Castaway, the day he got off the island.
I thought you were going to say, and this is a true fact, the original title of the Tom Cruise movie was The Color of Pickle Juice.
Yeah.
They changed it. Didn't work well with audiences. Let's bring in our next guest. He's incredibly talented creator, and his new book, Falcon Spear, is now on stands from Dark Horse. He's calling us all the way from the other side of the pond. So we thank him very much for staying up late.
Staying up.
Doing the show. Warwick Johnson-Cadwell. Again, the book is called Falcon Spear, and it's based on a project that he did with Mike Mignola back in the day, but expands on that in a big way. If you haven't read the book already, again, it's been on stands for about a week, I think, at this point. Super fun, super good, supernatural mystery. And I'm excited to chat about it. What? Did you like my... killing for time?
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, and thank you guys for your help.
It's like a Formula. It was like a Formula One race. If they ran out of gas right when it started, almost immediately. And Formula One races don't have to go very far. It's just about going very fast.
Yeah, they're just using baby formula, right? That's why it's called Formula One.
Oh,
yep.
Wow.
The first formula is baby formula. Formula One.
Very cool. I love that.
Yep.
What else do you guys love? What's going on with you?
I love how a couple of minutes ago I was like, we've been doing this for long. We need new ideas, and Alex is desperately trying to think of one thing to talk to us about. You're like, what else do you love? Like a job interview where you can't find your resume.
So I see you've been with this company for 15 years. Where are you? Where are you looking to go in this organization?
I love Lab.
Yeah, Pete.
All the way to the top. How are you guys doing in this very, very cold weather? Pete, what's the Philadelphia experience like for you? I don't know if anyone knows this, but Pete's power went out last week while we were recording something, fully blacked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering if you jinxed us on that or how that worked. Hey,
Warwick, hello. How are you? Again, welcome.
Well, I'm glad we checked this was all working beforehand.
There's always problems. I've said this multiple times on the show. We're multiple years into a pandemic where people only relate over video chat, and we still haven't all figured it out. So someday, maybe in year 10 of the pandemic, we'll get it all done.
Don't put that out there.
Wow.
I control these things. Let's talk about Falconspeare, though. This is such a cool, awesome, fun project. Just to clarify for anybody, this isn't necessarily part of the Mignola-verse or anything else, but it is spinning off of a book that you did with Mike Mignola, or a short story you did with Mike Mignola. Is that correct?
Yep. This is Mr. Higgins Comes Home. Was the start of this, and it is not Mignola verse. It's not out of verse. This is out of it verse. This is I think this is us and the amazing Screw on Head, and I think we've got no attachments to anything else and go crazy.
Awesome.
That's great. You can cut loose.
Hey,
What I love about this book. No, that's fine. I think we're on a little delay here, but don't worry about it. We'll compensate. What I love about this book is that it is scary. There's a bit of horror in it, but at the same time, it's kind of fun and funny and cheeky, and the way that you pace things out leads to a fair bit of comedy. How do you balance those two things in the book at the same time?
Oh, it's really tricky, but it was something that Mike wrote the script. Mike wrote the first one. He wrote Mr. Higgins Comes Home, and the script had all those elements in it. And reading the script, I could see more of a lot of humor in his stuff. I mean, not like jokes all the way through, but there's moments. And in that script for Mr. Higgins, there was just lots of fun. I mean, some of it was pretty gruesome, gory fun, but it was lots of fun. And so I really wanted to make sure I sort of got that with the others. And so I think maybe it's something I'd like to do. I think it's good to have a balance to sort of, some lighter moments and some darker moments, and then just sort of, as I say, some sort of outrageous, gruesome bits as well. It's always fun to throw in.
I really love the journey we kind of go on with the main characters. Very interesting the way, like, I'm trying not to spoil things for people who haven't read it. I highly recommend this. This is really amazing. I just love the kind of like, we think we understand what's going on, and then there's this reveal after somebody kind of has this dilemma of like, how do I get past this? And it was such a creative kind of a conclusion to the story. We read so many comic books. I was really blown away with how this concludes and wraps up.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's really cool to hear. You never quite know where these, the books start, but I think probably it was, this one was sort of almost through, not quite at the end, but halfway, over halfway through was sort of the first ideas for it, and sort of, what I wanted to do and what sort of story it was going to be, and then sort of tried to work it out from there. So you sort of get your main points. And so you just sort of, the time you spend working it out and sort of, the writing of it, you sort of, at some stage, especially when you're in the thick of the artwork, you sort of trying to remember when you thought it was a good idea and hoping you were right when you were thinking it was a good idea, because it seemed like such a long time ago.
Man.
So you sort of just having to try and make sure you got faith in yourself from when you made the first decision. So, no, I'm glad you hear you like it. Thank you.
So now, you said this is sort of in its own universe. Is this kicking off a much larger universe that we're going to get into?
There's no plans. I mean, yes, I think that's a brilliant idea, but I'm not publishing the books. I got away with the first one was amazing. A completely amazing thing to have happen, and I thought, having done that I thought I'd got away with quite enough. But then I did a second, and now this, and so, I'll keep chancing my arm. I'll keep pushing my luck and see how many we do get. But there's loads. I mean, there's just drawing and writing these things. Every other page has got ideas on it that then I'm thinking of to turn into something else. And so, the Falconspeare himself was a. Oh yeah.
No, go ahead. I was interrupting you. Please go ahead.
Oh no! Falconspeare. James, the Falconspeare, the main character, was. I got my comps. I got the box of Mr. Higgins and took them to a fairly local art fair and was excitedly trying to sell them, but of course it wasn't the right sort of place to be selling that sort of book. But I was drawing characters to sell out with it, to just to sort of encourage people. And the first sort of iteration of Falconspeare was that day. So
Oh, that's awesome.
They're just full of ideas, and they're sort of coming from just the movie's full of ideas anyway, so you keep going and going, I think.
So it just happened by chance. You were just sketching and then something came into shape?
Yeah, well, I don't tend to have it's a weird, I don't tend to have an idea. I don't have an image of something in my head which I then put down on paper. I've got ideas which I then work out on paper.
Oh, wow.
So you'll end up drawing things like, I think, well, that looks interesting, or he looks cool, or she looks, ace. And so, you don't quite always know what you're going to turn up with. So it's the drawing of it as well. You're just having ideas for different bits.
I love hearing
whether
that.
it's costume or how they stand, or whether you.
I love hearing that because my brain works in
like
the exact opposite way. I feel like I always have to have it inside before it comes out. And to hear someone just like do it and then check it out is amazing.
Well, it kind of makes it entertaining for me.
Yeah, right.
So
you're a fan of what you're doing.
Because, I know. And so I sort of have lacked sort of, what's the word, competitiveness. And, I can just amuse myself. It's a bit like, well, it is. I don't play video games. I don't need to. I waste enough time just drawing stuff. So, and that's when I'm not working. So.
Time not wasted. This is amazing looking.
I did want to ask you about inspiration, sort of where the story comes from. I know we touched on that a little bit, but you're dealing with gothic ideas here. You're dealing with mysteries here. You're dealing with vampires here, which is very well-trodden territory, but I feel like you have found something fresh. How much of it is involved in racking your brains in terms of going like, okay, I'm dealing in this sphere. That's been done. 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 Okay, this is the thing that has not been done, and this is how I can find my unique spin on it.
Well, I mean, we talked a bit about it with these. Mr. Higgins, came from a real that sort of common ground from the fact that I'm a massive Minola fan, and that work and his interest in that, but it's the way he draws his art before. But there's a very, a common interest in Universal Monster, Hammer, UK Hammer horror, and that sort of thing. And those sorts of worlds are just, they're full. And of course, they're sort of, transporting from classic. And it gets into particularly with the films, and we're talking about it, it's more my memory of the films, rewatching them, they suddenly often turn out to be worse than I remember, or some of them are in places. But it's when you're watching a film and you think, well, that would have been better if so-and-so did this, or wouldn't it have been cool if that person, blew up or didn't blow up, or, and so it's sort of going through those sorts of things, all this sort of genre film stuff, and thinking, well, that was great, but this could have happened. Because it's fun to play. You don't want to just. I don't want to make totally original stories as much as I want to tell stories in an original way, which I don't know if that makes sense. Or if I'm being sensible, but I mean, I'd rather, because these are sort of they are genres, so they're sort of playing with ideas. Although you start to go into rules of vampires and stuff like that, and it's pretty much you can do what you want because everyone's decided thing might work and something else doesn't. So that's fun.
What about your comedic influence?
Yeah, they're not necessarily all hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that. I can't. I'm completely blank. Can't think of anything.
Just you. It comes out of you.
Well,
There you go.
just yeah. No, my kids are stupid dogs, and well, no, there's not. I'll say any in 10 minutes time, and like I say, it was reading the script, reading Mike Mignola's script for Mr. Higgins. You know, I was laughing, and you know, it was funny, and it was not, you know, it wasn't jokes. I think it's you know, they're just sort of like, you know, people doing, I don't know what the stupid thing is I say, people doing funny things.
I ask
See,
it because
funny.
I feel like it's so hard to write comedy in comics, and when someone does it, I'm so curious what they're sort of drawing from, and I feel like it is sort of like you're reading something else, and like you're sort of taking it in sort of subconsciously even.
Yeah, I do a lot of just sort of watching people. You know, I do a lot of, for years I just figures. I illustration work, I've done concept work for film like that, but I draw people, and I was just keep an eye on people, what they do, and sort of that sort of thing, sort of funny situations, I guess, and sort of how, and people's really comical, and so it's just trying to translate that into sort of kind of write it down or draw it and hope it works. You know, this one was funny. The other two are a bit more. I mean, it's a bit more light in the other two. This one's just slightly darker. It's just it's just a slightly sort of, which is funny because the first one sort of got quite a lot of. I'm not trying to think of the word, but you know, that's the first one's a sort of a tragedy kind of thing, but in a funny way.
Yeah,
this one's a bit gloomy, but I was trying to put in some other light bits, put in some jokes without sort of breaking the balance, or maybe suggesting it was going to turn out some other way than it.
Yeah, I think you definitely achieved that.
Well, let me ask you.
It's 20 minutes time. I'll
Not to keep challenging you with things, but just to move over to artistic style, just because I see in our comments here on Crowdcast, there's a lot of people trying to say, oh, your artistic style is like this, it's like this other thing. To me, it definitely looked like, and this is probably a very obvious influence, but to me it looked like Mike Mignola, but also by way of Kate Beaton a little bit, who I don't know if you're familiar with, sort of mixed together. Are those your influences at all, or who do you look to artistically?
They would be, obviously Mike way up there. Kate Beaton's ace, it's great work, and so definitely there too. But sort of, it looked to everyone to always keep an eye out on what people are doing. I like, and sort of seeing you have a good. Again, just sort of working out what it is I like. So it's just, you see something that looks awesome. And so then I spend a bit of time trying to work out what is it I like about it. You know, what's it doing differently, or what's it doing well? My art, this never tried. I don't have I can't, draw a bowl of fruit in a fantastic fashion and then draw it in my style. I just only draw that way, and this way is kind of just sort of drawing a lot since, as far as I can remember, just sort of grabbing ideas that I've seen, off everyone who's any good, and that started off in the UK, 2000 AD, the anthology comic with some of those amazing artists there, and so many different styles in the same before you, but it's always just sort of like looking at how people are doing things that, you don't like drawing, don't like drawing hands, or don't like drawing noses or something like that. So I spend time having a look at where people do it and how they do it, and usually find cheap one way or other, which is brilliant because then you can just do the same thing. Shadow under them, so we see you don't have to draw any of the nose, just draw a bit of a shadow underneath. That's it. And after a bit, you sort of start picking up different styles, version of how to do things, whether it's comics or fine art or anything, or cartoons on the telly. And so it all sort of pulls together, and that's what my style is. That's how it's got to where it is, or that's how the way I draw. So it's just a load of decisions, whether good ones or bad ones. And I think it'll keep changing sort of slightly.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But yeah, no, definitely Mike Winova and Kate Beaton just works great. So
awesome. Well, this book is tremendous.
Really
it's
unbelievable.
Really
I had
great.
such a blast reading it.
Yes.
Do you have before we let you go?
magic. So thanks. That's ace.
Yeah. Is there anything else coming
Thank
up
you.
that you want to plug in particular other than Falcon Spear?
There is a cold check at Kickstarter, which I am artwork for, coming up.
Nice.
Wow, the Kickstarter's running now. Actually, I need to point that out.
We had him on last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not helpful, quite enigmatic, but there is a series I will be working on for a brand new publishing partnership, which will be announced later this year. So there's not much I can say about it because they're going to do their announcement. So there's more work, an original story coming from me for that. So, which is pretty exciting stuff.
It's great.
Well, cool. Warwick, thank you so much for coming on. Please go to sleep because we kept you up late enough as it is. And again, the book is great.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Warwick.
Thank you.
See you,
Thanks so
Warwick.
much for having me.
Yeah, take
Thank
care.
you. Great to see you.
All right, there we go. That is Warwick Johnson-Cadwell. The book is called Falcon Spear. It's out right now from Dark Horse Comics, and it is very, very fun. A good, rollicking, old-timey adventure that you definitely should check out. And now we're going to move to our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It's your audience questions.
Yeah.
And for audience questions, I see a couple of you have already done this, but if you're over on YouTube, drop a question down in the YouTube comments. Here on Crowncast, drop it and ask a question. And tell you what, normally at this point, we usually do something that we're drinking, but we've already done that unless, Justin, you moved on to a brewski, right?
You bet I did. Oh, there's no label on it.
A generic brown
mystery.
beer.
No, it's
It was an old man on the street handed to me.
It's the Brooklyn Sour, the Bel Air Sour, which is something
Yes.
I
Fancy.
like.
Yes. I want to like sours, but they make me sick for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's the alcohol in there.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have
Because
too
I
much of
drink
that.
15 or 16 of them. I get it.
Well, it's because you like pumpkin beer, so your body's attuned to that. And when you drink something that's the opposite of that, your body's like, whoa!
I'll tell you what. One thing I'll mention that I'm not drinking this week that I did get, there's a Irish cream stout from Southern Tier. So good.
You love it.
So good. Highly recommended. Let's move to some questions here. This is from Charlie Billings over on Crowdcast. Don't you fellas have some sort of comedy background? What is that exactly? Comics? Also, who are you? Some stand-up comedians that you guys like? I may have added the emphasis there myself, but
Wow.
yes, we do have a comedy background. Do you guys want to... Who wants to take this one? Justin?
We met in the comedy world here in New York City. I came up through the Upright Citizens Brigade as an improviser and sketch guy, UCB guy. Got into writing sketch, writing for TV. I still work in TV and stuff
As
like
a line
that.
producer.
Not a line producer. Just about to start a new show, another comedy show. So came up through comedy, doing comedy.
And we'll
then
go down through comedy.
I'll die doing comedy.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall back down to tragedy soon. It's coming.
Oh, man. Don't stretch it out, dude. Stretch it out.
I know, Pete.
So yes, and some fave stand-up comics?
No, but Pete, talk about
sure.
you guys have to talk about your comedy background too.
No, I think that covered it.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. I
was
mean,
me.
we're not. Yeah, that's right. That's all we need.
Same as Justin. Go ahead.
Same.
Pete.
Yeah.
Same.
No,
Say-
that's not accurate. Shout out to Kevin in the comments. I do a weekly character show every Wednesday night at 8:00 with Just for Laughs called Characters Welcome. Check it out.
Yeah, I started mostly in sketch comedy. I was in a
man,
group
you're
called
actually doing
Elephant Larry for a while. Another one called
Epic
Three Jews
sketch
and a Persian. Thank you. And I was artistic director of the People's Improv Theater, which is how we met.
And Jeff.
And then I've been doing this show for 15 years. So there you go. Pete?
Oh man, I did stand up for
You
a
sound
long time.
We all sound
Oh,
so
God.
nightmare.
Yeah, I
we
was,
like doing this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to be reminding you.
Did
I just don't want
improv
to
for
bore
a long
everybody with
time.
every
Yeah.
little
This
bit
is
of
nice.
nuance.
It's nice.
Yeah. We were doing shit in New York City, and then we met up and started doing this shit.
But Pete, you were also a successful storyteller, which is a form of comedy, I would say.
Oh, sure, yeah. Did storytelling as well. Yep.
Storytelling with
You-
some moth stuff. We have
You
a
won
comment.
a couple of times, right?
Yeah, that's right. Twice, yeah.
We have a comment from someone. Who
Oh man,
don't
I
think-
did. This is a funny story. I did. Justin was doing a show at UCB, and like I decided to go up and tell the story. And Justin, like on stage, was like, "Hey, this is the story that you won with." I was like, "No, this is a new story." He looked at me like, "Why would you not tell the story that you won with?"
Won.
It was so funny. It did not do as well. I should have done this.
Yeah.
That
I
story,
put
but-
Pete on my show for a sold out audience, and he decided to try out some new material.
new material.
Oh,
boy. Yeah. Oh man.
And any stand-up comics that you guys are particularly liking right now?
Ooh, it's a tough time for stand-ups who aren't already famous.
I'll throw
I would
out
say-
one. There was one I saw do a comedy concert the other day named Che Diaz. They're
Get outta here.
very
Wrong-
talented.
wrong crowd.
Wrong crowd.
No,
Okay.
I barely get that, and and I know what you're talking about. I'm going to shout out a good friend of mine, Allison Leiby. She had a show, Oh God, an Hour About Abortion this past year that the New York Times wrote up. Great stand-up, doing a lot of stuff. Who else? Rojo Perez, another great stand-up who did my show for many years. Yeah, those are two New York faves.
All right, there we go. Pete, you got any picks?
I just saw the Lewis Black special on Amazon. It was pretty funny.
Cool. This is from Hugo Sanchez over on YouTube.
Hey, Hugo! What's up?
Hey
man?
guys, now that the series is wrapped, what did you think about Crush and Lobo? Also, can we talk about how great John Cena is in Peacemaker?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, John Cena is fantastic.
Crush and Lobo, I really liked. I thought that comic had such a good sort of narrative
Vibe.
drive. Yeah, the tone and the way the sort of the story was told, I thought was great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
John Cena, Peacemaker, yeah.
Yeah, man, dude, you can't see me. It was, Peacemaker's very enjoyable on the second episode, but also just
Is that because between each episode you have to stop to watch Ted Lasso in its entirety twice?
each time? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It takes a while. But
Reload the
also, the Crush Lobo was enjoyable. I thought it was fun. I was a little disappointed they kept them a little too separate. Like I really wanted more interaction from them. But great series. More Lobo stuff, please.
Space Wolverine.
Excellent.
Stop it.
This one, another one from YouTube. This is from Nelson Martinez. Did you guys enjoy the Moon Knight trailer? I know nothing of the character, so I'd like to hear your guys' take on him in general, and if you're anticipating the show. Did you guys check out the highly anticipated Moon Knight trailer that debuted last night?
Yeah.
In the midst of Monday Night Football, Alex.
In the
What
midst
a
of a
fun
full
crossover.
moon.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Was it?
I like the
it is a
trailer.
full moon.
The show feels like it's of the Marvel shows so far, it feels like it's
What?
Red Moon Knight, and it was like, oh, that's cool, but we're gonna sort of do our own thing where it's like a guy who's losing his mind wakes up and continues to realize that he's a superhero. So it feels I would have liked more white three-piece suit as opposed to the sort of mummy wrap costume we saw.
Yeah. Sleuthman Prime who dressed up in the white suit a bunch.
That was my one big quibble with it was clearly they've changed it to like some sort of mystical mummy wrap suit, like you're saying, and I'm sure it'll be great. I'll be on board. I'll watch every episode. It's fine. So like this is all whatever. But at the same time, I'm not usually one for contrarian Marvel takes because I feel like in particular film Twitter is like Marvel's stupid and I hate Marvel no matter what. But I did see somebody from film Twitter posted a thing where I was like, all right, I think this is actually pretty accurate that they were into it until he got into a generic superhero costume and started doing superhero stuff. And I agree. Up to that point, I was like, this feels not to call out another superhero show, but this feels like Legion in terms of mind fuckery, in terms of what's happening.
Ooh.
And I love that. Like, I loved all the stuff that was going on there, all the visual things with him walking by the reflecting pieces of glass and leaving several of his reflections behind. All of that stuff, not knowing where his mind is or his identity. So cool, so much fun. And as soon as it became what we really like derisively sometimes call him in comics in terms of just being white suit Batman, I was like, all right, this is fine. I'll still be on board. I'll like this, but I didn't like it quite as much.
Well, and here's the thing. We don't know the take. That
Totally.
may be a purposeful, like, goofy superhero costume. And maybe we will get the white suit. It does feel like a show that is trying to do knows what it's trying to do with sort of a man falling through his own perception or whatever. Love Oscar Isaac. This could be a continuation of the scenes from A Marriage Universe. We don't know that. So yeah, I'm excited. And
as someone who reads a lot of Moon Knight comics, I would like to say that there are different kinds of Moon Knight that I love. I love I'm not going to say what Zalben says because I think it's bullshit to compare him to Batman, but I do think that
he's rich and he's damaged.
You had your time. You talked.
The shot of him beating the dude is exactly the same as the shot of Batman beating the dude in that trailer.
I guess you keep talking.
100%.
I thought you were about to take your shirt off for some reason, Pete. The way you tucked your hands under your...
The Pete won't listen to what the Alex is saying.
Yeah, I feel like Moon Knight. I'm losing my fucking mind over here. You had your time. I would like to talk a little bit about the fact that...
And go ahead, but I just want to establish that we're actually three personalities of the same guy. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. Senator Pete, your time has been reclaimed.
Oh, God. I really... If we were in the same place, I would punch you. I just think
that's why I love this pandemic.
Yeah, you can't punch through these digital rectangles yet. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, great news. Zoom has invented some new technology where you can punch people. We have a fist. It just comes out of your computer like boop, like that.
I would pay money so I could do that too. So much money.
Speak your truth.
There have been many different forms of Moon Knight. There have been the crazy Moon Knight struggling with, is this all real? Is he just an insane asylum? There's been the more action-oriented. There's been the hilarious Moon Knight who will rip quips and stuff like that. I have loved all of them. If it's done well, I just want them to kind of try not to do too many different Moon Knights. Try to pick a kind of lane for Moon Knight. This is going to be the Moon Knight that's, you're losing his mind. We don't know what's up or down. Fine, great. Let's go with that. But I do think that the trailer looked amazing. They got a lot of talent so far. Everything's been hits. So I don't know why a person like Zalben would even try to quip about it.
Quip. All we do is quip. I mean, I think we're all generally on board with almost everything. So any one of these small quips and quibbles are just little, for only the very rarefied differences between these great things that we love. Yes. Ethan Hawke's hair looks weird, though.
It does look weird.
It's a character choice. Who cares if his hair looks
He's wearing like caked on makeup or something. It's very strange.
He looks like Nicolas Cage in the 90s.
That's the character he's playing.
He looks like he's some other guy wearing an Ethan Hawke mask.
Robbing a bank in an Ethan Hawke costume. Like before sunrise, just robbed the bank. Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke.
Wow, weird. All right, this is from Stray Bullet. Tom King is very good at taking characters that live sort of in the sidelines and elevating them through great stories. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is an excellent example. Are there any characters you'd love to get a similar treatment?
Lobo.
This is a great question. Was that
Lobo?
Yeah. What
would be better than a 12-issue prestige book where Lobo is just very depressed the entire time and doesn't do a whole lot of things?
Yeah, his space motorcycle doesn't start or something. He struggles with that.
I'll throw out, I think our guest from last week, Mark Russell, is using it very well, but I do think a Red Tornado series from Tom King could be pretty good. He certainly wants to like live in that Justice League International. What year is that? Like late 80s, early 90s, something around then.
Yeah, the JLI, and then later the not
like he definitely
necessarily
wants
the
to
Justice
live
League.
and reevaluate that era. I assume that's when he was mostly reading comics, and that's why he sort of wants to deconstruct all of that. But anything from there, Tom Tormey in the comments calls out Plastic Man. I think that's a great.
That's a good one,
as
yeah.
well.
Along of what Pablo Martinez is saying with Teen Titans, I would love to see a Beast Boy Cyborg Perfect Strangers kind of thing, but really just sad and melancholy. You know what I mean?
You want Tom King to do that?
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect Strangers, they find out they're related and they live together?
Sure.
My answer is Jimmy Olsen.
Boo.
Give me that Jimmy Olsen breakdown series.
Yeah, he could do he hasn't really done anything about, well, I was going to say he hasn't really done anything about news. Strange Adventures kind of dealt with that in terms of manipulating the media. But I think to your point, something with like a Daily Planet series, maybe. I think he could do a good job.
That would be very cool.
Let's see. This is Kevin. What's the craziest deep dive you've ever taken into fandom?
What does that mean? The craziest deep dive into fandom? Into our own fandom? Or like been obsessed? What's something we've been obsessed with?
I think some we've been
Or
obsessed
is it
with.
something, a fandom that we've explored? Because I've certainly done that a lot. Like sort of checked out fandoms and gone deeper into them to kind of like understand what's going on.
You talking about the DC Fandom?
Yeah, I lived in there. I slept in there for the whole year between the two iterations of DC Fandom.
Yeah, your wife kicked you out and you went to live in the fandom, right?
Yeah, it was just me and Tiffany Smith and The Rock.
Wow. It's a deep series of deep cuts. You know, I did a pilot with her once.
Oh, yeah?
Back in the day for Spike, where we did comics.
Oh, that's right.
What have you gone like undercover into fandoms?
No, I haven't gone undercover in fandoms, but I think there's times, particularly when I'm covering on a show and those fandoms suddenly discover, oh, I am covering that show. I like to have a better understanding of what's going on there, particularly so that I'm not relating to the wrong people in the wrong way. And what I mean by that is like, in any fandom, there's going to be very negative elements. So I try to be as savvy as possible in terms of not just blindly responding to people or talking to them, because it might be something that I'm buying into that has a very negative connotation in terms of that fandom. So certainly like Riverdale, we've all dove pretty deeply into that fandom, I think, and become pretty involved in that. But also like other CW fandoms, I've certainly explored the Flash fandom a bit. I try not to get involved in either Star Trek or Star Wars fandoms because there's such horrible toxic elements in there. I don't want to be involved. And Walking Dead fandom is one that I think like I've tried to explore a little bit, but I've never quite gotten. So I understand what they're talking about, but I don't spend a lot of time relating to it.
That is a lot. But that's good. I guess, I mean, let me say I read the Silmarillion, so that's unnecessary depth into the Tolkien verse. But I guess the fandom...
Please explain what the fuck you just said. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's what I did. I'm too deep for Pete. But I think the fandom I've actually gotten in the deepest on is Pete LePage, exploring the underside of his life and all of the weird intricacies.
Oh my God.
In different houses he's burned down with his friends.
I try to keep things shallow. You know what I mean? I don't try to go too deep on stuff.
Yeah, I know. But we know you're like a little pond who's like, I'm a pond. But we know that you're a weird lake. You're like a sinkhole and we got to get underneath.
I do think, I mean, the easy answer here is comic book fandom. Like we're pretty steeped in that, I would say.
Yeah.
Just
that's
a little.
I mean, I don't have much space for other fandoms besides all the rooting through all the minutia of stuff that
we're not even that steeped in it. Like we don't spend a lot of time going into fan quibbles that are happening on the side on Reddit or whatever or anything like that. Like there's all of those things, and there's all the fandoms within the comic book fandom. Like I'm always fascinated when I accidentally stumble across something in X-Men fandom, and those are people that only care about X-Men, or Spider-Man fandom, or Batman fandom, or any of those things. People, like I found, I think we were talking about this the other day, not the other day, but a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the Hawkeye podcast, or actually, I don't think we talked about this. This is at work. I stumbled over a Twitter account that's just all about Mockingbird. And it's a person that has like multiple times a day posting stuff just about the character Mockingbird from Marvel Comics.
Big
That's a
leap in
level of dedication that honestly is very impressive to me, and I don't think I could ever reach.
But I feel like that's something that's all encompassing. Like a dedication to that means you don't have a lot of other space for more variety of things because you're so dedicated. Like Alex, you and ElfQuest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to mention Lawananana says erotica fanfic fandoms, and yes, ElfQuest erotica fanfic fandoms is my big fandom, but I don't like.
You lost a couple of years to that, right? Or they just vanished off the radar.
Yeah, 100%. I went deep undercover there.
We had to hire that.
That's
Alex
why my wife kicked me
impersonator.
out, and I had to leave the fandom.
We had to hire an Alex impersonator for truly a year of this podcast. See if you can
Yes.
pick out when he started.
He was wearing. It was actually Ethan Hawke wearing a me mask.
Oh boy.
And that's you in Moon Knight wearing an Ethan Hawke mask.
Absolutely. I hope you enjoyed my performance. All right.
Pete?
This is.
Wait, what about Pete's fandom?
Oh yeah, Pete's fandom is Mountain Dew, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, you are in way too deep on that.
Great. Is there? I mean, I do think this is really interesting. Just Pete, is there a sports team that you know too much about, or something that you've gotten way too deep on?
I mean, I go deep on different things. Like, I think the first thing I kind of like lost my mind about was Douglas Adams, and I had to know everything about that guy. And then it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it was just like I had to have every issue. I had to know all the things. So yes, Stray Bullies, Ted Lasso, maybe I'm on a couple of Twitter accounts that I shouldn't be, but whatever, like it's cool.
Wow.
People love Ted Lasso, and I like to be a part of that. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of free time, but when you love something, you know it immediately. And for me, it's like as soon as I see something, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be huge. It was like Murder Falcon. I just had to read the first issue, and I knew like this is like my new jam. I'm a fucking rock this.
As a fan of Pete, I'm excited to hear about the Pete, you gazing at the abyss of Ted Lasso Twitter and what looks back at you.
I mean, I would try to keep things positive when it comes to something I love. I'm not going to get involved in the, the other side of it. It's just all like, because Ted Lasso is such a moving thing that also the Twitter tends to be super supportive and moving and, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, it's not to keep talking about this, but I really do think fandoms are absolutely fascinating. It's something that I think about all the time. I also think about like we're sort of getting to here, talking around the different levels of fandom and what you think is you being in a fandom versus what is actually being in a fandom. And there's not that I've ever been on another podcast, but I was on another podcast talking about Star Trek.
Dare you?
I know. I'm sorry, guys. I was talking about Star Trek, and I always feel very uncomfortable about Star Trek because there's I remember, in my opinion, the basics about things, but I can't call out specific episodes. And there's certainly alien races that I forget and continuity things that I forget. And I was talking about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I think I'm kind of a casual fan. And the person who was hosting the podcast called me out. They were like, over the course of this podcast, you have mentioned every single series of Star Trek. You've seen all the movies multiple times. You're wearing a Star Trek hat and a communicator.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, oh, okay. But even that level to me, I'm
Alex,
not going to
you're
be
over here like Darmok and Jallard at Tanagra.
But the thing is that, there's things that I don't know. There's different levels to fandom, and I think it's fascinating. Where I would call Pete is a hardcore Ted Lasso fan, but he's not on Ted Lasso Twitter. He's not posting Reddit or Tumblr memes or anything like that. But he's
rewatching the series over and over again.
Constantly.
A total normal person would.
Yeah, there you go. So I don't know. Fandom is very interesting to me. There wasn't necessarily a point there. No. You? Can you did a little bit.
No, that's from a very specific episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm a Next Generation guy, but I don't speak Klingon.
Yeah. And it's all fine. I mean, if anybody is listening to this and you are... Well, no. I think it's important because there's like... I don't know who listens to this podcast, but if you're listening to this podcast and you feel like you are not a fan of something, if you like something, you're a fan of it. And if you want to talk about the thing, you're a fan of it, and that's it, and you're in the fandom. You don't have to be like, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of this thing. It's just enjoying a thing makes you a fan of the thing, and that's it.
Yeah. But show us your full back tat of the Fifth Doctor.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah. You were asking me, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I was talking to my wife. My bad.
Yeah. Pablo says Friends fandom too, and yes, Pablo, you're part of my Friends fandom.
Maybe he means the TV show Friends, Alex.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm sorry. I've never heard of that. This is from Rich. Pete, thoughts on the new Punisher logo? I know you talked about it when it first was announced, but any further thoughts now that a couple of weeks removed?
Well, I want to read it to kind of believe it, but it's a temporary. Just like how the Punisher was, this cosmic kind of like ghost hunter thing for a little while. It was a temporary badass run. I'm hoping this is another cool badass look for Punisher. We'll see. Time will tell. I mean, I won't until I'm like in it. I won't have any other kind of things to kind of say about it. But it's fun to see people taking Punisher in new places. Hopefully don't make me angry.
Well, how do you feel about speaking of fandoms, my Mephisto redesign here and my Mephisto fandom that I'm rocking?
Yeah, not cool, dude. Nobody likes Mephisto.
Speaking of shirts, though, let's end with this question from Lawana Nana. Where did Pete get his cool new shirt?
Oh, my God. Don't respond.
Great question.
Don't read your questions?
Interesting. Where did you get your cool new shirt, Pete?
And what is your cool new shirt? Please describe it. You held it up, and I noticed it was new.
It's a Wolverine T-shirt. We went down to South Street in Philly and Atomic City Comics. We went in there to check it out. It was a pretty cool comic book shop. I'm trying to make my way around all the Philly shops. I'm a fan of comic shops. I love going into a comic shop. Every comic shop has a different vibe, a different thing. This was definitely like a cool kid's place for sure. Whereas a Midtown Comics is not going to kind of like judge you when you walk in the door, but it's still, it was, they had a lot of amazing stuff in there. So it's hard not to spend your money.
There's someone with a similar name from the question, Liwana Nana post in the comments. I keep trying to get him recognized. This is Pete LePage of Comic Book Club.
It's not fun with her in the shop when
she's just pointing at you.
Talk louder. Maybe someone will recognize your voice.
I was back in Syracuse this past weekend and went into formerly the Carousel Mall, now Destiny, the name of the mall. And there's a comic book
It's not the Carousel Mall anymore?
No, they call it Destiny. It's sort of bad. But
is there still a carousel?
There is still a carousel. Okay, so feel free to ride. But went to the comic book store there with my two daughters, and I couldn't pay attention because I was chasing them around the entire time. So I had a real moment of how the times have changed.
You weren't like you couldn't get them to stand at attention, like act like it's a church or something, like hands
I was like,
back,
so girls, this is, and they were both running in two different directions. I was like, that's not, don't touch all that stuff. And then I was like, we had to get out of here.
Yeah.
Good times. All right, we are going to move on with our next section, which is trivia. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right.
Pete LePage, the America's eulogist.
Oh, boy. Oh, that's fun. Oh, you guys are having fun. Do we have a lucky person we're pulling in, or is this?
Yes, we absolutely do. Tom
situation?
Torme is the contestant tonight. And if you want to compete on trivia and win a $25 gift card, all you have to do is submit in the comics. Here's Tom.
Hey.
Wow.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Tom with the
right.
shelf porn flex behind you.
Thank you. I had to try something. I had to do something.
I like the Skeletor. You got the Iron Man back there. Oh, look at those Godzillas.
Yeah,
Slimer lurking in the back there.
Slimer? Yeah, look at that, man. Oh, yeah, Baby Yoda. All right, cool.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
You win. It's $25.
$25. That's it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, today's trivia is corresponds by Midtown Comics. You will win a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. Today's trivia is on topical comic news and a small nod to the legend Sidney Poitier, R.I.P. Please listen to all three options before making your selection. Here we go. Question number 1. The X-Men are going back to the 90s with the new title blank. Is it A, Pogs, B, X-Men 92, or C, Christy Alley? So it's either A, don't pick it, but really timely, or is it B, X-Men 92?
B sounds fantastic. I'll go with B.
You are correct, sir. All right.
Greatest
here we
day of my
go.
life.
Question number 2. DC announced that they are going back to Flashpoint with blank. Is it A, Flashpoint Beyond? Or is it B, Flashpoint Returns? Or is it C, Clancy Brown? So it's either A, or you could pick B or C.
I'll go with A, Flashpoint Beyond.
All right. Here we go.
Nice.
Last one.
Nailed it.
In the Devil's Reign, New Villains for Hire number 1, the villains hit blank. Is it A, the Met Gala, B, a new understanding of themselves, or is it C, Frederick Coffin? So it's either A and $25 are yours, or you could be completely wrong and get nothing.
I'll go with A, the Met Gala.
Hey, there you go.
Wow.
Tom,
Amazing work.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Tom. You're going to get $25 to Midtown Comics. And to anybody listening out there, all you have to do is fill in a form. We put it up on @ComicBookLive or in the comments here on Crowdcast and YouTube. And you can play as well. But Tom, do you have a guess what secret movie Pete was indicating that Sidney Poitier was in?
With
his
Kirstie
third
Alley.
answer? With Kirstie Alley, apparently.
Oh, gosh. No, I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank with the Kirstie Alley. No, yeah, I was going to
That's
guess
right.
a famous one, but you lost me at Kirstie Alley.
It was
I don't think.
Guess
1980.
guess who's coming to Cheers? Was that it?
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. It's the 1988 hit "Shoot to Kill."
Ah,
Tom
Nice.
Berenger.
Oh, of course. Yes. That
great.
1988.
I believe
of
they
the-
carry that
yeah.
at Midtown Comics if you want to pick it up, Tom.
Or grab yourself a
Gladly.
Godzilla if you've got space.
Oh yeah.
Love it. Thank
Awesome.
you guys so much for the opportunity.
Oh my
no
gosh,
problem.
thanks for coming on. Have a great night, Tom.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Later.
All right.
Kept staring
There
at
we
the shelf.
go.
I couldn't not look. I think it was pretty awesome.
Honestly,
No,
as the star
whatever
of
you
trivia,
do, don't look at the guests, Pete.
I was just like looking past him, like, oh my god, that looks like Batman. And
honestly,
then
as the
there's
star of trivia, you seemed a little bit that wasn't your best performance.
my- wow,
It wasn't your
really?
best performance. You seemed a little distracted. And
Oh, because of the
honestly, we almost pulled you for the understudy.
Well,
Speaking of which,
I'll do better next time.
not at all.
No, I don't. You're a star. There's no your star still shines.
Lots of comics coming out this week. Lots of things to choose from. What are you guys looking forward to, Justin? What are you looking forward to? What's coming out this week?
Me?
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm looking forward to. I mean, the Silver Coin is
come
coming
on,
out.
man. You
One of
always
my
say that. You just
I've great book, great art, great stories. This one is by our guy Matthew Rosenberg.
Bergie?
Really, yeah. Looking forward to hear and see his take. I feel like it's going to have a really interesting panel theme running through it. And of course, let me also shout out Homesick Pilots, a book that constantly feels like it's going off the rails, and yet they find other rails that we did not see coming. Like all trains, there are other rails for it to ride.
Speaking of which, Snowpiercer season 3 coming very soon.
Wow, Alex, you're really on Twitter. You are really holding the torch for Snowpiercer.
Absolutely. I don't know. Season 2 was pretty good. Pete, what are you looking forward to that's coming out this week?
A Righteous Search for Vengeance #4 and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow #7. Just absolutely spectacular comics.
Great. I'm looking forward to She-Hulk #1 just because I always like She-Hulk, but
Yeah,
also Rainbow Rowell, who I absolutely love, is writing it. Did a great job. If you don't know her novel work, she wrote on Runaways recently and did a fantastic run there. So really, really interested to see what she's going to do with one of my favorite characters in Marvel. And folks, that is it for this week's show.
Thanks for listening, Justin's mom.
We want to thank our 2 guests on the show. We want to thank Rich Wojcicki. Go check out Deadbeats and Miscreants on Kickstarter now. Also, Warwick Johnson-Cadwell. Check out Falcon Spear from Dark Horse Comics out now.
You gotta check it out.
Great.
Next week on the show, Reese Prosser is going to be here to talk about NJXP. Also, Chris Dunn, friend of the show, is going to be here to talk about R-Truth, so it'll be fun to have him back. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support this show and all the shows we do, iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow. Don't forget to leave us a comic book review request in the iTunes reviews at Comic Book Live on Twitter, Comic Book Club Live on Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast, and many more. Until next time, good night.
Good night, everybody.
Take care of yourself out there.
Sit on cracked couches and they let the secrets leak. And occasionally they'll let that special guest speak. So grab your written hand, don't be late for it, 'cause their girlfriends can barely tolerate it. Comic Book Club, Comic Book Club, Comic Book Club, Comic Book Club.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Sorry about the meatball.
Sorry about
Our usual sign-off.